Welcome aboard. Welcome to my blunt thoughts. My name is Benjamin Akakwo, aka for today, Babatunde. And I've titled my blunt thoughts this morning of committees, promises, Parliament, and our economy, assessing the salient issues. Of committees that John Mahama set up, promises, Parliament, and our economy, assessing the salient issues. Now, if you come to the slides with me this morning, there's been a lot of talk about, oh, there's this committee that has been set up, Gold Board 21, and all of that. And we're also hearing that July the 1st, Republic Day, which is also now going to be Senior Citizens Day, as we've had it in the past, and now that National Day of Prayer and Fasting, a committee is to be set up. Interesting bits in there. Not out of the ordinary, but of course, we have to ask questions about, okay, committee this, committee that. How long are they going to last? What is the cost that is going to come to us? And I'll start from here. So at least, and that doesn't factor in the one for the National Day of Prayer, at least 7 of these committees have been set up. What exactly are we looking at in terms of the 7? There's the Constitutional Review Committee headed by Professor H. Kwesi Prempeh. There's the National Economic Dialogue, 7 people on that. So the number of members on the first one, Constitutional Review, 8. National Economic Dialogue, 7. Then you have the National Education Forum. Remember what we've been saying, Haruna Idrisu, and then the coming together to form that consensus on the way forward for our education. That's another 8. Then you look at the Gold Board planning, that is 21. You look at ECG privatization, those looking into it, Mr. Jinapo and his colleagues, that's 7. Uncleared ECG containers, 5. And then we have the Petroleum Sector Review, that we don't have a number. If I just do the quick math, 8, 8, so this is 15, 23, 44, 51, that's about 56 members, right? And sometime, at some point, we'll get into the cost details as and when we have them. But for now, you look at these committees being set up in respect of promises that have been made by the John Mahama administration. Now, there's the 120-day social contract, the promise that was made. That's 4 months, right? So that takes us what? January, February, March, April, sometime through April or the start of May. How many days are gone so far? We are looking at about 31, and the days left, 89. So how much work has been done in those 31 days? Promises made, 26 that have to be fulfilled within the 120-day window, the social contract. Promises fulfilled so far, 3. That leaves you with 23. But there are at least 4 promises underway as well. Not completed, but underway. If you add even those, that it gives you about 7. But for now, the disaggregation, 3 fulfilled, 4 plus en route, right? And those that would remain then would be 19 promises outstanding. Now, if you look at the time gap, 30, 31 versus 120, that leaves about 90 days or 89 days more. So still more time, but we have to hold the feet of government to the fire. And that takes me to Parliament. Honorable members, honorable, and sorry to say, sometimes their actions are very dishonorable or unhonorable. See members of Parliament coming in, first timers, beginning to wheel chairs and the rest, and you ask yourself, but of course, they learned it from previous sessions or sittings of Parliament. Remember the 8th Parliament? Carlos Ahinkra became Usain Bolt, running away with ballot sheets and all of that. And we saw squabbles, sometimes very petty, in Parliament. We are teaching the young ones, and they are coming, and they are following in that stead. So those who initially were to be sanctioned, Roxanne Nelson Dapia Mekbo, are not done press. So Majority Chief Whip, Minority Chief Whip, Jerry Shwaib, Second Deputy Minority Chief Whip. He's, of course, Member of Parliament for Wejagbawi. You have Al-Hassan Tampuli in there as well. And we all saw the roles they played. But it's crucial, important, moving away from who gets paid what, when, and how. The Speaker himself has been speaking, and he said, even members themselves, members of Parliament, don't take the appointments committees seriously. And I felt that was stark coming from the Speaker. He's the longest serving member of parliament, as far as I know, together with Osechi Mensah-Bonsu, who is no longer in parliament, and now he's a speaker. So if he says this, you know what they say? If that animal comes from the bottom of the pond to tell you that the crocodile is dead, you don't doubt it. You are not at the bottom of the pond. But he has been there. He also says parliamentary privilege does not and will never extend to lawlessness. Your parliamentary privileges end where the law is. Any member found culpable shall face the appropriate disciplinary measures as prescribed by the Constitution and Parliament's standing orders. So we have the standing orders. We have, look, an ordinary citizen, you would expect certain things of me. As an ordinary citizen, maybe a higher mark because I'm on TV and you have to watch what you do. But a member of parliament, requirements in the Constitution and all that, and you get there and we see some of the actions we have seen, then you ask yourself, what's going on? But of course, it's also part of the money in our politics. So it becomes a moneycracy. And people get there on the back of having the funds to pay, including delegates. Now, then you move on to the energy minister on the gold for oil program briefly. We have to talk about our energy situation because, like it or not, we want to keep the lights on. The current gold for oil program we've inherited, we will discontinue it. That's the energy minister. There's a high level of opacity and the clarity is not there. The Auditor General has flagged it, so it's not just what we are saying, it is a fact. And the Auditor General is the same Auditor General we had a few years ago after Dominivo. He's the same person at post. So what exactly is happening? On gold for oil, we were not provided with a formal agreement between the Bank of Ghana and PMMC for these transactions. So what was happening so far? It's not to say it's a bad thing altogether, but the devil is always in the detail, dotting the I's, crossing the T's. If there was no proper agreement, formal agreement, what was happening between the Bank of Ghana and the PMMC for these transactions? I'm only asking questions. As a result, we could not confirm salient terms of the engagement, including fees. And the devil is always here. Procurement, payments, fees, or commissions paid to PMMC for their services. How do we account for them? Then, on the same gold for oil program, there was no dedicated offshore bank account for the gold for oil program. We've spoken about ECG having so many accounts and the cash waterfall mechanism. How about this? No dedicated offshore bank account for the gold for oil program. So how were the transactions conducted? We need a probe into those. The main objective of the gold for oil program, now help me if you think we've achieved the goal for the gold for oil program. Increase gross international reserves. Now, in recent times, I have seen some billions that we have accrued in terms of gold reserves at the Bank of Ghana. So in that respect, or in that regard, you could say that, well, there have been some gains. The quantum of the gain vis-a-vis the losses of about 60 billion, that one, I'll not wade into that territory. But then you talk about reining in depreciation. Has the cedi's depreciation, been reined in that much? We're still hovering around 15 point something. So the effect from where I sit would not have been very well seen. Reduce fuel prices at the pumps. You don't need to be a soothsayer to realize that this one, it's not working. Now, average monthly cost of oil imports, because it feeds into that. Gold for oil, remember? We spent $373 million. Average monthly cost of your imports. And by the way, it's a blot on our conscience what we've done with TOR vis-a-vis Central. I'm not denigrating Central, but even the whole structures and taking from TOR and giving to Central is problematic. But that's not the conversation today. If you look at the key economic indicators, in terms of gross international reserves, you are looking at 8.9 billion coming from there. That's in terms of USD Ghana cedi depreciation rate, 19.2% as impact. Then you look at the exchange rate in Ghana cedis. 2011, we're looking at 146. Then it rose, that is to the dollar, it rose to about 4.18. We hit 5.54, and now we are standing at 15 cedis and 40 pesos per data from the Ghana Statistical Service. Then there's the monthly inflationary rate. We hit a high in January 2024, 23.5, went to 25.8. Now we're still hovering around 23.5. So if you look at January 2024 and you look at now, inflation is practically where it was. Nothing much has changed. Of course, that is not to impugn the current administration because change cannot be brought to bear with a wave of a magic wand, abracadabra, and it happens. But that is just to say that if you are looking at the dynamics year on year and where averagely we are, cost-wise, nothing has changed, not much. Then you look at monthly food inflationary rates, and you have 27.2, now we are 28.3. So generally speaking, not necessarily month on month, generally speaking, we may not exactly be better off. And it's hovered around a high of 29.6 in there. Then my final slide, you would also see, it's interesting, isn't it? If your eye quickly went to the dog meat at the bottom, yes, in some parts of the country, it's a thing. And it's enjoyed. I may not take it, but you don't denigrate someone's meat. So ginger has risen by 114.4%. John DeMello, I know you farm ginger. This is something you should look at as Deputy Agric Minister nominee. Beans, 84.6%. Dried pepper, 82.1%. Okra, and for those of you who say okra doesn't exist. Okra, 79.6%. Onions, you are looking at 76.6%. Yam, now this is a problem. All of these are problematic, but you're looking at yam at 72.9%. Have you ever spoken to those in traffic, asked to buy some before? Brutal. What is it? Watermelon, 59.7%. I don't know whether it's also on the back of some of the markets that have got burnt and watermelon sellers losing their goods. And dog meat, also 59.7%. Add all of these, they are accounting for where we find ourselves. Dried pepper, moko. Pakposhito and the 82.1%. So it's no surprise when you go to the market and you see some of these dynamics. Everything I've said today has to do with leadership and our economy. We've got a new batch of leaders, well, some of them old in Parliament. Our faith, our hope, our prayer is that they will live up to expectation, stop fighting, stop, throwing tables and chairs, stop disconnecting cables, stop insulting, live up to the expectations of the ordinary Ghanaian, and work to make our lives better. US aid is no longer coming. How are we working towards that? My name is Benjamin Akakpo. These are my blunt thoughts, raw, hot, unedited, undiluted. As always, I pray, may God bless Ghana and make her great and strong. Thanks for watching.